Welcome, everyone. A couple weeks ago, I had William Lee Rand on the show, and it was such a wonderful conversation, and we only got to touch on the surface of some of the things that he has done and that are so interesting in his work. So he has agreed to come back here today, and I'm excited to welcome him back. William is the founder and president of the International Center for Reiki Training. He's authored many books, including Reiki, the Healing Touch, and the Reiki Touch Kit, and Reiki for the New Millennium, which I think would be an interesting thing to talk about today. He is also, along with some of his students, he developed the Karuna Reiki system of healing, which we're going to get into a little bit more today. And he is the founder of the Center for Reiki Research, and he's the editor-in-chief of the Reiki News magazine. He's also, in 1997, he traveled to the North Pole to place the World Peace crystal grid dedicated to world peace, and did the same thing in the South Pole in 1999. And in 2004, he placed a peace grid in Jerusalem. In 2005, at the ICRT Training Center in Southfield, Michigan. And in 2009, in Malahi Lani Reiki Center, not sure if I got that right, in Maui. So I am interested to welcome William back so we can talk about some of the more in-depth work he's done, along with all of this world peace work that he's done, especially now as we are in the midst of such an incredible energy shift, and so many more people are waking up and remembering the oneness and the connection and bringing peace in from within and connecting with others. So welcome, William.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming back.
Yeah, so good to be here. Yes.
Great. So we're going to send people who didn't hear the last show to the archives. They can hear it on iTunes or Co-Creator Radio Network archives, and that aired on February 1st. But for people that didn't hear that, can you just give a slight overview of your journey, just to get us back on target here today before we go deeper into some of the other work?
Sure. I became interested in metaphysics in high school and decided I was going to spend a considerable amount of time learning as much as I could about it, because it seemed like it contained just the essence of life and the most important things that we could learn about ourselves and the planet and other people. And so I spent about 15 years studying different schools and teachers and taking different trainings and becoming involved in different types of practice. So I was an astrologer, worked with the Rosicrucians, I was worked with the Kahuna, and got involved with past life regression therapy and neurolinguistic programming and rebirthing, and then eventually got involved with Reiki. So in 81, I took my first Reiki class and found it to be something that was just this had a much higher vibration than anything I had ever studied before, and became a teacher in 89, and then just devoted myself to Reiki and to practicing it, teaching it, and promoting it and helping others to get involved with it.
Do you believe that a lot of the work that you did prior to receiving the Reiki attunement made it flow easier for you? I mean, I think that one of the things about Reiki, and we talked about that before, it's the universal life energy, and it's flowing through us, and it gets passed down to us through other masters, and they help to open it up. But we are then responsible for our own vessel in being pure and open, and you certainly were born and with a drive and a desire to become the clearest, most perfect reflection you could be, I would say. And do you think that is important when you were working with a Reiki energy?
Yeah, well, the thing that my previous studies did was it really satisfied my curiosity, gave me a much better understanding of metaphysics and how everything works. And so when I did come across Reiki, I was able to appraise it and realize what a powerful thing it is. And I was better able to understand it and make use of it. And I think what you're saying is true, that it is very important for us to focus on the clarity within ourselves on all levels, because that's what really allows the Reiki energy to flow for us. So my experience is that there's no limit to the amount of healing that we would be able to channel. It's just a matter of how receptive we are and how open and purified and clear we are within ourselves. And so Reiki comes from an unlimited supply, and it's an infinite supply. And so really my feeling is that even the greatest healings that we've experienced here on Earth are just a very small part of what's possible, and it's just an unlimited potential for us. And it is just a matter of us tuning in, and the clearer we can become and release ourselves from blocks and restrictions and allow our vibration to go up, that will allow us to channel much higher frequencies of healing.
Yeah, I like how you say that too. And part of it is that belief that we can. I know that for myself, I've experienced instantaneous and very profound healings in different situations. Sometimes working on myself because I don't have the limit of another person thinking they can't heal, But also when whoever is being healed or offering the healing, when we can, the further we can drop our belief system of limitedness, the quicker and more instantaneous it can be. I mean, it really, I agree with you. It's like, let's all get out of the way and watch the miracles that come in.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, one of the things that you did after you started teaching is I'm really interested in hearing more about how you developed the Karuna Reiki. When I was first starting out in the Reiki, I remember that I actually wanted to get my master level in Reiki just so I could do Karuna Reiki because I was so drawn to it. And, and I think I do know this, that when you turn your life over to service, it doesn't always go the way you want. So I never actually got it because every time I signed up, something got in the way, and then I ended up going down a different path. And it's wonderful to be here with you today and be able to hear about how that was developed and how did that happen for you?
Well, one of the things I think that is a foundation for my work and for Karuna as well is that early on I started saying a prayer. One thing happened in my second level class is my teacher, Bethel Faye, said that not only can Reiki heal us and heal others, but it can also guide our lives. It can actually heal our whole lives. So I really wanted to connect with that. So I created a prayer for myself, and that prayer is, guide me and heal me so that I might be of greater service to others. And so I say that prayer every day intently, and I found just amazing things have happened. And so after I became a Reiki master, people began bringing different symbols to me and ideas about healing and so forth. And I was interested in them to a certain extent, but I felt that what I had already was enough for me at that time. But I would take the symbols that they gave me and I would file them away, and other attunement methods and so forth, and that I felt that it was interesting, but I wasn't really ready to do anything with it. And then about a year later, people started coming saying, well, so and so is teaching these symbols and this other method. What do you know about it? And I would say, well, I don't know too much about it, but I have seen those symbols before. And then another year went by, and people were coming and they were saying, we know so and so is teaching this stuff, and we want you to learn about it, and we want you to teach us this new energy, this new symbols and whatever. And so I thought, well, I should look into this because it looks like I'm progressively being coaxed into that direction. So what I did is I called together a group of students who were my best students. They were, many of them, clairvoyant, psychic, extremely good healers, very experienced Reiki teachers. And we got together over the weekend, and I asked them if they would work with me and assist me in putting together something that we could teach. So I pulled out all the symbols and put them on the floor and all the attunement methods, and people went over them. And we said a prayer just asking for guidance, that we would be shown how to use this energy, these symbols, in a way that would be exactly right and would create something worthwhile for the students. So we put together a class based on that information and began teaching, and people started saying, well, gee, this energy, it's different. It's different than any energy that we've experienced before, and it's more powerful. And so I was encouraged, and we continued to develop the system. At first, I was told that 3 of the symbols had come from Sai Baba, and so we call it Sai Baba Reiki. And then one of the students was a follower of Sai Baba, and she said, well, are you sure this came from Sai Baba, and do you have Sai Baba's permission to call it Sai Baba Reiki? So I wrote letters to the ashram, and I just asked about it, and got information back, and it just said basically they consulted Sai Baba, and he said actually no, he hadn't channeled the symbols, and that he would prefer that we not call what we're teaching Sai Baba Reiki. So I took that as some firm suggestion from him, and so I decided that I better not call it Sai Baba Reiki anymore, and I thought, well, what will I do now? And I thought, well, gee, the energy is really powerful, it works, so I suppose that what I need to do is just find a new name for it. And so I was inspired to call it Karuna Reiki, and the word Karuna has to do with compassionate action, and it's a very special type of compassion. It's a compassion of spiritual evolution and development. And so people who are on a spiritual path actually eventually will develop this type of compassion. And it's also a vibration that's coming to us from what are called bodhisattvas, or illumined beings that are dedicated to helping others on the planet. And they are continually emitting this energy called Karuna, and it comes to us from above, and it's available to everyone, but you really aren't able to use it unless you become attuned to it, unless you tune into the energy and accept it. And so I feel that we were guided to create this system as a way of assisting people and actually attuning to this Karuna energy that is continually coming from illumined beings. And so a very important part of Karuna is actually becoming connected to an illumined being, so that that illumined being then becomes your personal spiritual guide and is able to guide you and heal you and even train you and actually improve the quality of your healing energy. So I think that's one of the main features of Karuna Reiki. Of course, also there are actually 8 treatment symbols, and each symbol has its own vibration and its own area that it works in, and you can feel the distinct energies of each of the symbols. For instance, there's one symbol that actually is used to prepare the person for deep healing. One of the reasons that we don't heal deeply is that we're afraid of the trauma that is within us that we experienced and which actually created the problem, and we simply don't want to have anything to do with that pain and the fear and all the negative feelings around it. So we've pushed it down inside, and that's one reason why people don't heal deeply, is because they're afraid to actually connect with it. But this symbol actually prepares the person to heal deeply by anesthetizing them spiritually to the pain, so that actually they can be healed without them having to re-experience that pain. And then there's another symbol that does do deep healing, a third symbol that actually will fill the person with love after they've been healed deeply, and then a fourth symbol that will ground the person and in a very harmonious way assist them in returning to their body, because during a Karuna session often the person will actually leave their body and then they need to come back. And so the final symbol is to help them back into their body and to integrate the whole thing. So that's a description of 4 of the symbols.
That's beautiful.
And so we consider it like the next step after Reiki Master. Mm-hmm. It is people have reported to be a stronger energy. It's clearer, and it helps people to move forward on their spiritual path.
And the wonderful thing with Reiki, and then obviously with the Karuna Reiki, is that when you are in the role of the healer, the one giving the healing, it's healing you. So as people are opening to this for the others, then the people would be receiving that as well. So the practitioners themselves will be feeling that same vibration of compassion in their lives. I would assume that you've watched that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very important part of the training and becoming a Karuna Reiki Master, is that during the training, it's actually a very powerful healing experience for the students. So not only do people gain the ability to use the Karuna energy and to actually give attunements and to teach it, but also everyone is very deeply healed. And then as you continue to use the energy, it just continues to purify your consciousness and assist you in healing more deeply and moving forward on your journey.
I'm smiling because I can just feel the amount of love and compassion even as we talk about this, and I I know that that's what I was drawn to back those many years. And obviously I was then guided by spirit in my own way to reach that point. For whatever reason, I was supposed to do it differently. But it's such what I'm seeing right now as you talk is the beautiful gift. And I saw this in the last show that it's just this gift that we can help others to move so quickly. And for me on my journey, when I'm helping others, I'm always so happy when people don't have to struggle as much as I did maybe, or to learn in the, by pain or whatever, but then they just get to have it so much gentler. And I can see the gentleness and the love that gets passed down through the teachings and the attunements of Karuna.
Yeah, I think that's important, that actually you don't have to struggle. If we can go up to a higher vibration, there are ways of moving forward on our spiritual path that don't involve pain or difficulty. And it's a fact that the source, God, higher power, Holy Spirit, really wants us to grow in an easy way, a fast way, and actually is willing to take on our karma, to heal it for us, and to assist us in moving forward very easily. And it's just a matter of us actually coming into agreement with that and accepting the energy and the healing that's available to us.
Yeah, and I like that with your symbols too, it is about that it doesn't have to be hard, and we are so frightened to face emotions and to get past what seems like such a huge wall sometimes, when really Spirit's there to just dissolve it for us. What looks so difficult to walk through, when we surrender it into that vibration, can be so easy and gentle, and it's meant to be that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So peace, obviously, in our world as we're shifting, peace comes from within, and you're spreading this across, giving this gift to so many, and then all your students, and I'm under your line in one. I've been attuned by two different lines, but I'm under your line in one of them. So everybody, so many are passing on, and I'm seeing it like these ripples going out into the world as you heal yourself and then pass that on to others, and then they pass it on to others. But then you've also used this energy or some energy that you've been working with on the more global level. Tell us about those grids that you placed and why you chose those particular places, and the times that you chose, and what they're for.
Yeah, that was really an exciting experience. Well, I had thought about creating a story about someone who actually did something similar, and it involved finding special crystals that had been hidden all over the planet by ancient healers, and they were to be used at a special moment in time and brought together at the North Pole to heal the Earth. And I never did write the novel, but when I had moved back to Michigan, I found that there was someone that actually did go to the North Pole to meditate, and that was Alex Gray. And so I was fascinated by that, and actually contacted him, and he actually did a painting for me of a healing temple. But I was very interested in his trip to the North Pole. So I thought, well, gee, if he did it, I could do that too. And so I was reading a copy of National Geographic, and there was a story about someone that had done some work in up north. And I called him, and he was actually planning to go to the North Pole. He was working on a dog sled at the time, and I found that interesting. But he said that they were going to go to the North Pole, and they were going to ski there and go up by dog sled, and that then an airplane was going to come and pick them up, and I could be on that airplane. I could just actually fly to the North Pole and, be on the plane. So I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do, and, go there and meditate. And then I thought, well, I should do something more than just meditate. And I thought, well, okay, I could leave some crystals up there. And I thought, well, just putting crystals in the snow, that doesn't seem right. And I thought, well, maybe I could connect them with copper wires. And I thought, that's better, but it's not exactly the right thing. And then I came up with this grid. And so I had an artist friend who had done some very special artwork for me in the past, metaphysical artwork. And so I went to him, and we designed this peace grid. And it has 12 petals, just like the heart chakra. It's about a foot in diameter. It's made of solid copper, and it's plated with nickel. And on top of that is 24-karat gold. And then there are symbols that represent the major religions of the the world, and also including, though, independent spiritual paths, goddess religions, and then there's a symbol for all others that would be agnostics and atheists and everyone else. So it represents all religious and spiritual paths. And then there's a double-terminated crystal on each of the petals, and in the center there's a 12-sided cone or pyramid with each of the facets pointing out to the double-terminated crystals in the petals. And then there's an inscription, and the inscription says, "May the followers of all religions and spiritual paths work together to create peace among all people on earth." And so the concept is that within all the religions, with each one, there's a tremendous amount of power and spiritual power. And if all the religions were to actually work together instead of fighting sometimes and what they do, if they could work together, that peace would come to the planet very quickly. So that's the intention, that everyone work together, and instead of being having opposing spiritual paths or religions that are different or don't recognize each other, that we would just come together. So I went on my trip, took the grid up there, and had a lot of different adventures along the way, and I did place it at the magnetic North Pole, very special place where all the magnetic lines of force are coming down, straight down into the Earth and circulating around the planet. So I completed that, and then I got back, and I thought, that's great. That was a tremendous adventure, and a lot of interesting things happened, but it's at one part of it's on one pole. What about the other? It's out of balance. So then I decided, well, I'm going to have to go to this. I went to the South Pole. I found out how to get down there, and I took another peace grid to the South Pole. Again, had a lot of adventures. It really required some special spiritual help to actually get it in place. As an example, we got down to the South Pole, and we were told that we would be able to be there for about 3 hours, which wasn't enough time for me to actually place it. But then they kept coming back and saying, well, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. And then they kept doing that, and finally they said, well, actually, we're going to have to stay here because there's a blizzard back at the other camp where we're going to fly to, and we can't go there until that blizzard clears up. So we camped there right at the South Pole, and we were there 5 days. I had plenty of time to meditate, and I found a really good place to place the grid. It wasn't right at the South Pole because there's a lot of activity there. There's actually a barber pole with a chrome ball on the top, and there's the flags of all the nations that have signed the peace treaty, because there's a peace treaty for Antarctica to keep Antarctica only for scientific purposes and not to have anything down there that has to do with war. So there's a lot of activity around that area, so I thought, well, someone would find it there. And so I went out a ways. I could still see the pole, but it's off a ways, and I buried it in the snow. And, of course, I did some blessings and gave it some Reiki and took a photograph, as I did at the North Pole. And so I had them at both poles. And then I made a trip to Israel, and I went to Jerusalem. And I found Jerusalem to be the most powerful, just a tremendous spiritual place, and the energies there were just phenomenal. I could feel angels, I could feel ascended masters there, and it was just such tremendous clarity. So I thought, I need to leave a peace grid here. So I had no idea how I would do it, but I wanted to teach there also, and so my friend Amir located a place for me to teach a class in an art gallery. So he let me know about it. I said, an art gallery, that would be the perfect place to leave a peace grid. And so I contacted the owner, and he said, sure. And so when I went down there to teach, I then took the peace grid with me for Jerusalem, and I went around to all the holy places where Jesus had done healing, where he was crucified, where he ascended into heaven. I meditated at each spot. I went to the Western Wall, which is the most powerful Jewish spiritual place, and then the Dome of the Rock, which is the third most important place for the Muslims. Meditated at all those places, and then finally I left the peace grid there in the art gallery. So that was the third one. There's one also in the center in Michigan, and there's one out here in Maui. So after we placed them, then I've got photographs of all of them, and we do a monthly world peace meditation. And so you can download the pictures of the peace grid from our website, or you could actually ask, request, and we'll send you copies, hard copies of them. And then once a month at 7:30 p.m. in your time zone, people all around the planet, and now there was over 250,000 people that actually have copies of the grid and are taking part, are do the meditation. And so basically you just send Reiki to the peace grid and say prayers for world peace. And what people find is as they do that, actually a tremendous feeling of peace will flow into you as it unites you with all the other people doing the meditation so that you'll be a beacon of peace for the whole planet.
That's beautiful, and I can feel that peace even as you tell the story and talk about it. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for placing those there and dedicating yourself to that. And thank you for being here today. I can't believe it, but we are out of time again. So I want to give you a minute to tell your website and anything that you need for people to find you. And then
if you want to connect with my work, just go to Reiki.org. That's REIKI.org, Reiki.org. Just go there, and actually, all my contact information is there, and the phone number for our center, the address, and all my classes. And there's actually the workshop is loaded with articles, free articles that you can read. There's over 300 articles there on the website on Reiki, and there's a whole story of how I place the peace grids and explanation for Karuna Reiki, and just everything that I've done with my work is all explained there on the website, Reiki.org, REIKI.org.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I thank all the listeners here today. Have a wonderful week, and I will be back with you next week.